And hello everybody and welcome here as we continue on Speed Weeks for the 12th annual NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500. This is the qualifying session, and I want to make it perfectly clear this is not the qualifying session to determine who's going to start on the pole for the Great American Race. For the first time this season, we are actually going to have that be determined by the Gatorade or Budweiser Duels, whichever you want to call them. This is basically going to determine what 10 drivers are going to race their way into the Daytona 500 to join the 19 that have already locked themselves up a spot in the Daytona 500 grid. And this is going to be a race that will be basically about speed. It will be 10 laps that these drivers are going to be going around the racetrack, and the top 5 that are not locked into the Great American Race that have the top 5 fastest speeds will make it into the Great American Race in Group 1, and then the same thing will take place for Group 2. We're about to get the command to fire the engines. Here's a look at the drivers that are in Group 1 and where they are going to be starting this race off. Drivers at the back, they may have an advantage.
Drivers, start your engines.
Alright, so Lyndon Wright starts on the front row with Zachary Fitzwater. And it's going to be the drivers at the back that may be the lucky ones. They'll be able to pick up the slipstream in the draft and everything. Now you see, we got our nice little ticker here, but we're not going to be keeping track of who's out in front. We're going to be switching over to here, the fastest lap. They'll have 10 laps to be able to try and work out strategy to be able to put down the fastest lap time. Top 5 drivers not locked into the 500 already will make their way in via speed into the Great American Race. Now, that means that, let's say for instance, let's see, who's in this field that's already locked in? You got Chris Dollarton, you got Jacob Lawler I can see there. Looking further back, it's hard to find anybody else. Ty Dent. Okay, let's say that those 3 have the top 3 times. We would then go with the next 5 underneath that would lock themselves into the 500. So that's how it's going to go. So, anyway, let's see who's going to lay down the top 5 fastest times. Same thing will take place over in Group 2. The top 5 fastest times there, they make their way into the 500. And like I said, the pole position and the front row will all be determined in the Budweiser Duels. So the drivers here in that are in the first group are pretty doggone lucky because one of them is going to start in the pole position because they'll be in duel number 1. They'll start on the pole for the 500. And then the drivers that are in Group 2 will be battling for the spot on the outside of the front row. Alright then, so enough talk. Hopefully everybody's understanding what I'm talking about. If you don't, wouldn't be the first time that I've messed up explaining something. But here we go. Lyndon Wright's going to lead the field off here out of turn number 4. The Dodge Charger pace car will peel to pit road. 10 laps of racing for these drivers to try and put down the fastest lap time and race their way in via speed into the Great American Race. Here we go. Lyndon Wright, Zachary Fitzwater, get us underway. We're green in the first group qualifying session. Be interesting to see what drivers determine that they're going to try and fall to the back. Also worth mentioning, no caution flags on. If a wreck takes place, these drivers are going to have to try and maneuver their way through it. Also worth mentioning that if some drivers wreck and they're up in the top 5 in speeds, well, they aren't going to make it in. Because that would be technically them having to go to a backup car. And are they going to go 4 wide? This is not smart. William Brock going to go 4 wide there with Norman Lawler. Oh, I don't like this. Oh my goodness, please keep it together. Oh, if they wreck, that's going to kill a lot of drivers' chances. And there's Lawler in front of the field. Lots of cars spinning. Dollarton is involved. And that opens the door for a lot of drivers. And that's going to split the field up too. Ryan Cooper was in that. I think that was Elijah Gordon, Joseph Srigley, Seth Cole, Pichu London, Will Power. Wow, great job, Seth. Zach Flickinger, Chris Dowd, and they're wrecking up here further. Benjamin Miles, Lawler again, Trent Dunham, James McLeod. They worked their way through it. Dougie Shears has got damaged now. Seth Cole just ran to the back of Benjamin Miles. Elijah Dowd right now getting hit from behind by Zach Flickinger. There's Matt McIntyre caught back here. Someone else spun further up, and that was R.J. Bishop in the 98. And now maybe that things are spread out. Maybe we'll get some speeds in here. Jonathan Zorlin, he's got damage now. Mason Powers has got damage. Man, look at the smoke lingering there. Here's your front group. And fastest on track right now is the leader, William Brock. Then it would be the 41 of Tyler Markle, sorry. Michael Norman right now is third fastest. Then it's going to be Zachary Fitzwater and Lyndon Wright. With these 5 out in front, they may be in a good situation. All 5 of those drivers have to qualify their way in via speed. And things looking pretty good for them at the moment. It's not written in stone that they're going to qualify. And look out! That's a slower car of, I think that was Elijah Gordon. Now holding up the 41 and the 80. And Flickinger is now fastest on track. And out of the top 5 is Lyndon Wright, as the 84 of Nicholas Romero now is up in the top 5. And then the 41 of Tyler Markle right now is 5th. You got Lyndon Wright there. You got Blaine Keys, Chloe Baker. They're trying to get themselves up there in speed. Jacob Lawler slow. Right now, things looking okay for Norman, Fitzwater, and Brock, but it ain't over yet. See if anybody jumps up into the top 5 in speed this time. Doesn't look like it yet. Right now, it's Markle in, Chloe Baker, Lyndon Wright out. And you see there the 9 of Matt Dallio is in 10th, and that 9 car, remember, has been to victory lane 3 times in the 500. If that car fails to make the race, then the odds of it being a 4th time Daytona 500 winning ride, it could be over. And Carson Gum just jumped up into the top 4, knocking out the 41 of Markle. Carson Gum now with the 4th fastest speed. Where's he at? There he is. Working there with Rohit Vidaravu, Austin Mongold, and Stephen Pollard III. And he is now in the top 5 in speeds. See if anybody from this group maybe can also get up there in speed. These slower cars are really holding up some drivers here. Let's see if anybody takes a spot in the top 5 this lap. Right now it would be Fitzwater, Norman, Brock, Gum, and Romero. And nobody able to do anything yet. Oh, look at the run there for Tristan Folks on Stephen Pollard III. Right now it's Markle still outside looking in, Chloe Baker, Lyndon Wright, Matt McIntyre, Stephen Pollard III. They need to lay down some kind of lightning fast lap time here to get by Romero, who currently holds the final transfer spot. Only 4 drivers have hit the 45s. Ian Dudd is on pit road. Julio Caesar. Seth Cole damaged. Here's the ones that are hoping and praying they can lay down a fast lap time. JT Bryant just jumped up to 8th fastest. Let's follow the 22. Where's he at? There he is. If he and Carson Gum, Rohit Vidaravu, and Stephen Pollard III can all form up, they may be able to put down some lap times to get up there. They got some slower cars ahead. Davey Johnson and Jacob Lawler, who could kill their momentum, but let's see what they can do here on this lap. Oh, careful! Nope. Davey Johnson killed that momentum. And Carson Gum rocketing around the outside line of Jacob Lawler. They're running out of time. That time Carson a full second slower than his fastest lap. Right now it is still Zachary Fitzwater at the top of the board. Then Michael Norman. Then William Brock. Then Carson Gum. And then the 84 of Romero, Nicholas Romero. Can somebody in these last 2 laps, it'll be white flag next time by, challenge for a spot in the top 5 in speed? There's Carson Gum. He may be in. The car that's got to worry is that 84. Because if anybody makes a last-minute move into the top 5, then he's out. He's working right now with the fastest car on track, The 28 of Zachary Fitzwater. You got Michael Norman up here enjoying the view. Who's going to make a move? There's William Brock. He's the leader on track. He's third fastest on the racetrack right now. Can anybody make anything happen back here? What about the 41? Can he do something? He's got the slipstream of the 28. Can he lay down a fast lap time? Not quite. About half second slower. Lyndon Wright, Chloe Baker, they couldn't beat their lap time. What about some of these guys back here? Carson Gum back there, Vedarvu, Bryant, what can they do? They got to beat a 46.03. No for Vedarvu, no for Bryant. Folk's not able to do it. Pollard wasn't able to do it. Neither was Joseph Romero. Nobody else was able to challenge. Race is over. 10 laps are over. And Zachary Fitzwater is top of the charts with a 45.596. That's good enough to get him a spot in the Daytona 500. He'll be joined by Michael Norman, William Brock, Carson Gum, and Nicholas Romero. Tyler Markle misses out on making the Great American Race via the qualifying session by 7/1000ths of a second. We'll show you the rest of the speeds here. A couple of drivers might not have even gotten to lay down a lap time. Well, they did. Joseph Srigley, Benjamin Miles, those guys, all of them going to have to try and get in via the Budweiser Duels, which will be next after this session. So, Fitzwater, Norman, Brock, Carson Gum, Nicholas Romero, they can all rest easy. They have qualified their way into the Great American Race. Now the question is, what other 5 drivers will in group qualifying number 2? Don't go away. That comes up next. The command to fire the engines for second group qualifying has already been given. Charles Sanford will start alongside of Carson Scott. Now Sanford is already locked into the Great American Race. Carson Scott, however, is not. Take a look here at the running order. The drivers that are already locked into the 500 at this point are Sanford, then his sister Jean Sanford, Sean Galligan, looking further down here, Austin LaPlante, Logan Wilson, Oreo Pollard, Jessica Shelton, Dylan Poteet, Levi McIntyre, John Cittadino, and James Silverfox. Everybody else going to be trying to vie for the top 5 in speed. A number of big names in this group that are not locked into the 500. James Qualls, Anthony McCrory, Nathan Hudson. We'll see what they can do here. It all comes down to speed. Not the race, the speed. And we saw in the first group qualifying a big wreck take out a number of contenders early when they went 4 wide. Let's see if that's going to be the case in this one. It's got to feel good for all these drivers, though, knowing if they don't make the Daytona 500, they're still going to get to race. We still will have the Daytona 250, in which the drivers that fail to qualify for the Daytona 500 will take part in. So it's not like they're going home not having a chance to be able to race in something. Here we go, though. 10 laps of racing. Who's going to lay down the top 5 fastest laps? Charles Sanford and Carson Scott get us underway. Let's hope these drivers learned something from the first qualifying session, and that is don't go 4 wide. They'll have a better chance of laying down fast lap times if they can all stay in one big group and not be all separated as if a grenade exploded with shards going everywhere. That's what it looked like in our last qualifying session, with a lot of wounded race cars holding up a lot of other drivers who were laying down fast lap times. 3 wide is okay here. Oh, they look like they were thinking about 4 wide back there. Sean Galligan wisely backs out of that, moves to the inside line. There'll be some fast lap times laid down here on this first lap, I should think, because everybody makes it around safely. And at the stripe, who are our top 5? James Silverfox tops the list, but he's already locked in. So right now our top 5, it'd be James Qualls, Ian Dutta, Emmett Juckin, Kyle Matthews, and then Bob Jones 7th, because Jessica Shelton's already locked into the 500. So Qualls, Dutta, Juckin, Matthews, Jones. That is your current top 5 fastest cars on track. And things are spread out a little bit, which is not exactly a bad thing. This is going to look like a much better qualifying session than the first one was. Let's see if anybody jumps up to the top 5 this time as our defending winner of the 500's fast on track. Whoop! Let's see. This time it is Bob Jones, top of the list. Jones, Dutta, Qualls, and then DJ Curtis, Cody Lamas. That's your top 5 for fastest speeds now on this lap. Cody Lamas, that fast lap, he went to the lead. There you see DJ Curtis right there. He would be battling for third if this were a race for position, which it is not. So far, everybody keeping it clean, though. It's allowing them to be able to stay in the draft and lay down fast lap times. Let's see if anybody jumps up this time. Right now, it's Jones, Dutta, Qualls, Curtis, and Lamas. Let's see who it is this time. And this time, it's going to be the 46 car of Philip Goldberg. He's fastest on track, followed by Hudson, McCrory, Henderson, and now Qualls is the driver in the last transfer spot. Ian Dutta on the outside looking in. Same for Kian Eddington in the 07. Right now, those are the only other two that are not locked into the 500 that are in the top 10 in speeds. You got drivers that are locked in that are here in the top 10 speeds as well, with Levi McIntyre in 7th, James Silverfox in 8th, and Logan Wilson right now 10th. So it's Philip Goldberg in a good spot right now. He's actually tied with Nathan Hudson for fastest speed in this session. Actually, it's a 3-way tie. McCrory's tied there too. And now they've hit the 44s. Aaron Henderson just jumped up to the 44s. And it looks like Henderson's the fastest on track now with a 44.9. Then it's Hudson, Goldberg. Carson Scott now has jumped up to 4th. And Emmett Juckin is now in 5th. Halfway through this session, we're on lap 5. Completion of lap 5 this lap. Outside looking in now is James Qualls and Kian Eddington. Aaron Henderson, remember he ran really well in the 500 last year. He wants to qualify his way into the 500 this year. Let's see who gets the fast lap time this time. Is anyone jumping to the top 5? Eddington, I think, just did. And whoa, look at there. The 78 of Marco Martinez up there. He's now the new leader in speed. Bob Jones 2nd. Kyle Matthews now up to 3rd. Aaron Henderson 4th, and Kian Eddington is in 5th. This is the kind of session I was hoping we'd have in the first group qualifying, but it didn't happen. They decided to be stupid and go 4 wide early on, trying to gain track position. These drivers, they're figuring it out that this is how you lay down the fast lap times. Right now on the outside looking in, Emmett Juckin, Ian Dutta, James Qualls. Off turn 4, let's see if anyone jumps up there. Oh, they're 4 wide back there. 4 wide with Jessica Shelton in the middle. They settled it out, thank heavens. And Emmett Juckin to the top of the leaderboard. Wow, look at who jumped up there now. We've got Juckin the leader, Dutta 2nd, Qualls is 3rd, Zach Rogers now is up in 4th, and Tim Walsh is now the 5th fastest on track. Look at Dylan Young now, just on the outside looking in. That's a driver that has to qualify his way in world trouble! James Silverfox around in the middle of the field! He's going to collect a number of drivers, and that may be all she wrote for drivers being able to qualify their way in. Now they're all going to be really spread out. Galligan got a piece of that. Kian Eddington. Silverfox is smoking as cars are on the apron. Ian Siegel's on the apron of the racetrack. I saw James Qualls get out of shape, but he held on to it. And I'll be surprised if anyone jumps up into the top 5 on that one. Not many drivers able to get lap times because of that. That may have done it. That may have done it. That may end anybody getting into the top 5 now unless they can really get formed up in a big group. But right there, your top 2 on track are your top 2 in speeds. Emmett Juckin and Ian Dutta. 2 Toyotas. James Qualls, Zach Rogers, and Tim Walsh would be the other ones to transfer in. Well, actually, no. Dylan Young's tied with Tim Walsh. That would actually... Would that transfer Dylan Young in as well? I gotta check with our scores on whether or not being tied for 5th place if Dylan Young or Tim Walsh. They're saying that between the two of them, whichever one finishes the highest on track after this 10-lap session would end up getting the spot. So let's look and see where they are scored. Let's find Tim Walsh. There's Tim, the 21. He's heading this group. And then back here you've got Dylan Young with Dylan Poteet. He's a ways back. He's got to catch Tim Walsh. Does he have time? White flag this next time. And they're kind of getting held up here. He may not catch Tim Walsh. Tim Walsh would be the one to transfer in. Dylan Young would have to try and get in via the duel, because they are tied right now. And Dylan Young is still being held up back here. I don't know who's holding him up. I don't know if it's Shelton or who it is. Poteet? Someone's holding up the 2. Here comes the 2. 2's getting a run, but it may be too little too late. I don't know if he can catch Tim Walsh. They're trying to get around James Qualls now. I don't know. Dylan Young trying to catch the 21 of Tim Walsh, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. It's going to be a couple hundred feet that keeps Dylan Young from qualifying via speed into the 500. Tim Walsh in the 21. He's going to make it in, along with Emmett Juckin, Ian Dutta, James Qualls, and Zach Rogers. Tim Walsh finished 9th in the race. Dylan Young finished 13th. And it was positioning that came down to the... Wait a minute. Whoa! Timeout! LaPlante hit the fastest lap at the end with a 44.774. He's the fastest, but he's already locked into the 500. Ian Dutta and Emmett Juckin tied for 2nd in speed. They still transfer in. Qualls is in, Rogers is in, and it still is Tim Walsh. Dylan Young still came up short. So, we know now our 10 drivers that are going to battle it out, or that are going to battle in the Daytona 500 by making it in via speed qualifying. In this one, Ian Dutta, Emmett Juckin, James Qualls, Zach Rogers, and Tim Walsh, based on track position. He is going to be in the Daytona 500. Dylan Young came up just short, 5 positions on track short, maybe about 100, 200 feet difference. So congratulations to the 10 that made it into the Great American Race. Everybody else is going to have to try to qualify into the Great American Race via the dual races. I'll be flipping a coin, and we'll see who makes it in. But, yeah. This is going to be very interesting, Budweiser or Gatorade Duel, whichever you want to call it. So hope you'll tune in for those. Thank you all so much for watching. Congrats again to the 10 drivers. If you don't know who the 10 drivers were, you can go back and see who I announced in the first qualifying session. And in this one, it is Ian Dutta, Emmett Juckin, James Qualls, Zach Rogers, and Tim Walsh. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys for the next thing on tap here for Speed Week, and that is, of course, the 2 Budweiser Duels, where the final 13 drivers will make their way into the 500. The last remaining drivers who do not qualify will take part in the Daytona 250. Thank you once again, everybody, for watching. You've been watching production of the NNSCRA, offline racing at its best.